Hi everyone, it's Roosta. Just want to make a quick tutorial, or quote-unquote tutorial, for Bahamut. Bahamut, among all of the Eidolons, is really an RNG shit show, so it's kind of hard to make a tutorial because so much can happen, and there's no way I can show all the different possibilities. So I will quickly just talk about the the things that I consider to be key to doing the fight well, and hopefully that'll help give an idea of what you're supposed to be doing. So the idea behind the fight is we're going to start in Relentless, and then we're going to go into Ruthless and try and debilitate him. And then after Ruthless, we're going to go into Relentless Assault to try and build his Just All points. So Ruthless will give us Slow, for sure. We have to keep going back into Ruthless until we get Slow. But it can also give Curse. Curse is really good also, but it's not critical. If you don't get Curse after your first two strings, then I would recommend just going into Relentless. Unless you're learning, you can get Curse every time just to be safer. Curse will interrupt his ATB, so it's really good. But beyond just going Ruthless and Relentless Assault, we're going to be trying to survive his strings. So the way we're going to be surviving his strings is we're going to be doing this by going into Combat Clinic. So, starting in Relentless, we're going to go into Ruthless until we get the debilitations we want, and then to survive his attacks, we're going to go into Combat Clinic. Now, it helps to familiarize yourself with these paradigms, as there's a lot of fast shifting in this fight, so it'll help to remember that from Ruthless, it's 1 up to go to Combat Clinic. From Combat Clinic, it's 3 up or 3 down, either way, to get to to get between these two. So to survive his attacks, you have to know what his attacks are. So his attacks have 2 classes. One that starts with Dragon Claws, which is his physical attack, and one that starts with Whirlwind. So if he starts with his physical attack, that does not launch. So it doesn't launch, which means that you can you'll have a few seconds until Whirlwind, which always comes after Dragon Claws, and Whirlwind will launch. So you're going to want to do something to stay on the ground. Typically, people like to Potion to stay on the ground, and then after Whirlwind will come either Umbral Vice, Inferno, or Ignis. If you see Umbral Vice, Inferno, Ignis. If he does Ignis or Inferno, those also launch. Umbral Vice does not. So Whirlwind, you'll want a Potion to stay on the ground, and you can also use a Provoke to stay on the ground for that, but you probably need to use 2 Provokes because Whirlwind hits multiple times. But then, after that, if you see Ignis or Inferno, you want to Provoke to also stay on the ground. So the way I usually do it is in Combat Clinic, I will put my cursor on top of Auto Defend. I'll use a Potion to stay on the ground for Whirlwind, put my cursor on top of Auto Defend, and then if I see Ignis or Inferno, both starting with an I look for the first letter. If I see an I hit triangle. If I don't see the I, if I see the U for Umbral Vice, I will just shift back to whatever paradigm I want to be in next. If he starts with Whirlwind, however, this is the other class of attacks, then you will get launched. Nothing you can do, just have to try and stay alive, use the potions, pay attention to who's healing who, and so on. Make sure your HP is good enough to survive his next string before shifting back into Ruthless or Relentless. So that's pretty much the overall idea. I think I've said all the key details, so now let's actually see some fights. One other thing I'll mention is that it also helps to pay attention to him and see which way he's facing and which way he's moving, as that tells you who he's targeting. So you can watch, he'll face the person he's targeting and start moving towards them. If he targets Lightning and, Fang or Vanille, they usually stand next to each other, at least until later in the fight, and so if he hits one, he's going to hit the other. So if, he's moving towards Fang or towards Vanille, you'll need to make sure you stay on the ground. However, because we're going to start in Ruthless, Lightning will be running towards Bahamut, and Bahamut starts far away, which means if he targets Lightning, it'll usually be only Lightning that gets targeted. Vanille has Shell and Protect, so she can survive strings, but Lightning has 75 less HP and none of this protection, which means that she will just die. So if you do happen to see Lightning far away and getting targeted alone, it's usually best to just let her die and not bother going into Combat Clinic. So hopefully over the course of these battles, I can show that a few times. But yeah, so we're going to do strings between these two until he has Slow, and if you want Curse, and then we're going to go into this, and attack, run, attack, and then always stay alive in Combat Clinic. So let's actually see what some fights look like now. So, Ruthless. So I can already see he's targeting Fang, so he won't start his string until he gets to the character he's targeting, because Whirlwind and Dragon Claws are both close range attacks, so he won't start his attack until he's close. So Whirlwind first, nothing I can do here, Fang's in the air. Just have to decide whether I want to use a potion or just shift first. So my HP is pretty low, I'm going to be safe, use the potion, and then go back to hindering. So he has Slow, and this is my second string in Ruthless. He has slow, which means even if I don't get Curse here, I think I'm just going to go back into Relentless after Combat Clinic. Just because being in Ruthless does not build as much adjust all points as Relentless. And that makes the fight slower. It's safer if you can get Curse, but it's faster. So if you want to play it safe, you can get Curse every time. But if not. So I got Curse, so that's good. See him attacking again. Whirlwind first again. This is the bad RNG, but still it's not too bad. So I'm going to wait for this potion. Actually, Lightning was healing, so I'm just going to come out. And now you can do your attack, run, attack. So I used a potion there because Vanilla was low, but it looks like I'm going to be too late if I try to use a potion to save myself from Whirlwind. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to provoke to stay on the ground and then try and meta guard to stay on the ground for Inferno if I get that. Actually, that would have been fine. So he did Umbral Vice, so I didn't need to do that, but I just wanted to show the idea of how you can use provoke and meta guard instead of potions to stay on the ground. Only Lightning is low. It's actually weird for her to survive strings like that. So the other key thing to watch out when you're practicing is that you can look at the points of the Doom counter above Fang's head to know what your fight time is. So it starts at 1800 and it goes down 10 every second. So right now it's at 12.8. So the thing I have in my head is that 1200 is 1 minute. So 12.8, I'm 52 seconds into the fight now and it's about to end. So one more attack should do it. So 1250, that means this is a 55, which is not too surprising given that it started out with 2 Whirlwinds. But yeah, that's the basic idea of the fight. If Lightning dies early, bring her back. If she dies late, just don't bother, because you waste a Phoenix down and you waste Fang's ATB time using that Phoenix down. She builds a lot of just all points herself, so if it's close to the end, you can just finish it off. So let's try a few more fights to see if I can demonstrate the ideas. I haven't actually shown staying on the ground yet. Okay, he's targeting Fang. Got slow twice. Whirlwind first again. Just gonna wait for the potion just to be safe. Go for Curse one more time. Whirlwind first again. Only when you're showing a tutorial. See, the HPs are getting lower and lower, that's why I'm trying to be safe and go for the potion. So here, you could probably go to Relentless if you wanted. I'm just doing this to play it safe. Here we go. So he's targeting Lightning, but Lightning is right next to Fang, which means all of his launch skills will also launch Fang. So, potion for a Whirlwind. Now watch for Inferno, so there you go. Although it didn't hit Fang and it wouldn't have launched her. Looks like it's gonna be around a minute. Yeah, 61. So that's pretty bad. It's bad when he starts off with Whirlwind a bunch and when your debilitations don't land. But I would say it's more common to get the Dragon Claws first. And that's the good RNG. So it's a little bit annoying that he's just doing Whirlwind first every single time now. But I just want to show a few different fights just to demonstrate the ideas in different scenarios. It's not like Alexander where I can just show one fight and that's all you need to see. So okay, so this is good. He's targeting Lightning. So I'm just going to let her die. He's so far away. This is ridiculous. So, here we go. Here's the idea. He's targeting Vanille, but Fang is right next to her, so he needs a potion from the ground. And now I think Inferno or Ignis would hit Fang. So if I see either of those, I'm going to confirm my provoke string to stay on the ground. And that's it. Fight should be done. Whirlwind first. So he's targeting Vanille. Again, You don't have to revive people if it's close to the end of the fight. It's been annoying he's so close to... So that was a 55. So that was a pretty typical fight time. It's really rare for Venial to die, though. It's usually Lightning that dies. It's because the Whirlwind first put her at low HP, and then she died after that. The other thing that can cause this fight to go really wrong is if your debuffs, if your debilitations aren't landing. You just have to keep on going between Ruthless and Combat Clinic, and with no slow and no curse, his strings happen faster, so you kind of are losing HP as you go back and forth trying to get your first debilitation to land. But of course I get both. This is probably going to be a good fight. This is bad. You shouldn't attack when he's starting his string because his hitbox will cause Fang to jump. You don't want that. So, what was that? 39. So that's actually 41. I kind of played that stupidly at the end. If you targeted Fang, it could have been bad. Fang almost died. So you really want to try and stay ahead of the curve with keeping your HP up, making sure you're able to survive his next string. That's one of the other reasons why this fight is kind of a shitfest, is that pushing the boundary of going fast means not healing as much, spending less time in Combat Clinic, and so on, which means you're going to die more. And so as you try and go faster and faster, you play it more and more risky. So Lightning's already dying. And I get both debilitations. Easy life. So Fang is already targeted. Oh no, Lightning's targeted. They were lined up, so I wasn't sure. Hey, she survived. Nice action roll, Lightning. But you can see how different these fights can look, right? Venial. So you can tell right now, looking at the hitboxes, that if he does Inferno or Ignis, it's not going to hit. It's only going to hit Venial. It's not going to hit Fang. So you don't have to worry about that staying on the ground thing. See. So what is that? That's 49. Still pretty good. Anything below 50 you should be happy with. I think Mr. Zwanzig lists 54 as the typical fight time, but also notes that it's an RNG shit show, so, or RNG shitfest. I forget what he actually specifically wrote. One thing I should also mention now, before I finish this, is the thing a lot of people don't know is that in the Alexander fight, this is a Delta attack, and you can have a better Alexander fight if you turn your Delta attack. So in the Alexander fight, it's like this, and you can make this no Mystic Tower, which is much better for Alex. But in this fight, you can do the exact same thing, change this exact paradigm into a Ravager to make Smart Bomb, and you can usually have better fights because of this. So you can only do that if you die. So if you do die, it is highly recommended that you do that, and you'll see why right now. Of course, now of all times, the debilitations don't land. How classic. Getting Whirlwind first every time, too. Hey guys, this is a good way of doing the fight. And then this happens. So this is example 1A of how this fight is an RNG shitfest. Oh, 1 HP. Calculated. Alright, I'm out of Phoenix Downs. Now it's coming back again. So yeah, there's another reason why Phoenix Downs are good to have, but...
So this is how it is.
Yeah, that was pretty typical Bahamut. And you can see how his strings are faster when you don't actually land any of your debilitations. Let's try that one more time with Smart Bomb. So when you're in Smart Bomb, you do more chain, which means your debilitations have a higher chance to land. Which, of course, that means when I actually show this in a video, the debilitations don't actually land when this happens. But yeah, that's the basic idea. You chain more, you have a higher chance for your debilitations to land, and Lightning's Ravager gives better just alt. Let's see. Let's say 54. Hey, that was a 50. No, I think it was a 53 actually. See, I'll show one or two more just to sort of get the idea across. See if I can find any more weird things to happen for demonstration purposes. Bang, not slow. Dragon Claw first. Let's go for Curse. Curse. Dragon Claw first. So let's see. Yeah. So there I showed a little trick, which is I wanted an ATB refresh, but I wasn't sure if his string was actually going to come. So I shifted to Delta Attack. Delta Attack would keep Fang safe, but it would keep Lighting and Vanille doing it would give me an ATB refresh on them. So that's a little bit better than Combat Clinic, because you'd give an ATB refresh to medics, which is not really going to help you finish the fight quickly. But yeah, that's pretty much the whole idea behind the fight. Stay alive, do as much as you can. Once he's debilitated, it should be pretty free, but keep cycling until he's debilitated. Maybe I'll do one more. This is a fight that really pays off on practice, with Alex, Hecaton, Odin, even Shiva. Basically, there's a cycle. Once you get in the groove of the cycle, then you can just repeat it over and over again, and you're fine. Brynhilder's even easier, because it's just spam. You just spam attack blitz until you win. But for this one, it's just kind of you have to adapt to what's happening. Sometimes it's really good, sometimes it's really bad. Just be prepared for as much as you can, and that's what practice is good for. Okay, no debilitation plan. This is what I wanted to show anyway. So you just gotta keep coming back, hoping for the best. Play it safe. Go for Curse.
Appreciate it.
So close. Yeah. Obviously, I could have just gone into Combat Clinic and stayed alive, but I was kind of hoping I could just finish it off quickly. But yeah, that's really all there is to it. When you practice, you'll get used to the things you can do. You'll get used to what to do when he does more Whirlwinds, when he does more Dragon Claws, when your debilitations do land, when they don't land. I may not have mentioned explicitly, but in this save, I had good gil in Chapter 9, which meant that I could keep the Blessed Talisman, and so when you have the Blessed Talisman, this is really good for Alex, but it's just a nice little thing for this fight, because when Lightning is staying alive and she's in Ravager, you get a nice conditional bonus from having Faith in this fight as well. But she'll die a lot, and so it's not worth going out of your way for this fight to have it, but when you do have it, it's a nice little bonus.
Let's wrap this up.
Bang. No, or was there one? Was there a slug?
Thanks. End of the road.
Something that it took me a long time to realize is that he, you see the string. Oh, Light's gonna die. Oh, Fang got launched. You get used to seeing Umbral Vice Inferno, and so you get used to seeing Umbral Vice Inferno, and you become worried that that's actually gonna happen when he starts with Whirlwind, or when he doesn't start with Whirlwind. And so you're like, oh shoot, I have to be ready for Umbral Vice and all these other things. But he only does Umbral Vice and then Inferno when he starts with Whirlwind. When he doesn't, that's not something that can happen.
End of the road.
So, like, he did Inferno there, but he did not do Umbral Vice. And so, Umbral Vice Inferno is only from Whirlwind, Umbral Vice, Inferno, never Dragon Claw, Whirlwind, Umbral Vice, Inferno. He can only do 3 moves per ATB. He only has, 3 ATB in that sense. Alright, one more. We'll call it good. I haven't tested starting in Smart Bomb with that. Maybe it's actually good, but who knows. You get an ATB refresh when you shift right here.
No mercy. End of the road. All in the wrist.
Oh, this is wrong card 9. That's bad. What is going to be like 45? 46. Yeah, so that's Bahamut. It's a quick fight. It just varies a lot based on what RNG you get, and requires a lot of practice to really get the hang of not dying. As you saw, I've practiced a lot, but I still made a few mistakes in this VOD that led me to die. But, nothing... It shouldn't be something you ever die purely to RNG. You should be able to account for pretty much all scenarios. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. I said this is a quote-unquote tutorial because it's really a hard fight to make a tutorial for, but I think I conveyed all the key pieces of information that you need. So yeah, good luck and have fun.